This talk presents a section extracted from a class given by BK Usha Didi, titled Transforming Sanskars. Before we begin, allow me to explain the meaning of two words which are frequently used throughout this talk. The first word is Sanskar, which is a Sanskrit word, and it generally refers to our habitual behavioral patterns, which are instinctive and usually driven by our subconscious mind. The second word is Sankalp, which refers to a thought representing one's firm commitment or a resolve, and also called a will. Let us now begin with Usha Didi's talk in English. Every Brahmin soul, in their Brahmin life, always strive to live with this purpose that I transform my life in such a way that by following the Father's directions and footsteps, I can become like him. I develop such divinity in my Sanskars that I am able to demonstrate all those qualities what Bap Dada expects from me. But regardless how hard we try to transform ourselves, work on ourselves, there still appears to be something, somewhere within us, which tries to strongly hold us back. And that what pulls us back is what we call, in other words, a sanskar. How does these sanskars develop? How are sanskars formed in our life? How are they shaped? Audience. By our actions, deeds. Only by our actions do they get developed. If today someone has a sanskar of hatred, even though he has never carried out or performed any action filled with hate, however, somewhere within him, in its subtle form, that particular sanskar is present. Then the question arises, how did that sanskar got formed? Audience. From past life. So, how would it be formed in this present life? Audience. By demonstrating through our behavior. Anything else? That's through action as well. One is that it is formed by action. Second is that it is further developed by demonstrating through behavior. Anything else? Abba has frequently told us, a point in Sakar Murli, that, my child, if ever any storm arises in your thoughts, even then pay very close attention to this, that your thoughts in themselves do not create a sinful action. It is only when an action is practically performed, carried, which is motivated by a sinful thought, is when it actually becomes a sinful action. So as soon any such thought ever arises within you, just remove it immediately. But when does that particular thought, that particular sankalp, actually becomes a sanskar? Whenever we try to contemplate and understand a particular thought, a particular sankalp, within ourselves, through our intellect, when we feel it, we visualize it. Using our imagination, we try to watch ourselves performing that action, motivated by a particular thought, a particular sankalp. When we watch our own embodiment in our imagination, and we try to imagine having the experience of it, it is only then that the thought, that sankalp, is transformed into a sanskar, meaning demonstrating something through one's behavior or by performing an action. These are the things related to the physical level. But the thought, the sankalp, which actually becomes a sanskar, it happens only after our intellect begins to analyze and contemplate on a single thought, a sankalp. And alongside analyzing it, the more our intellect visualizes that particular thought, watches our own embodiment in our imagination that, if I actually perform or carry out an action, motivated by that particular thought, this particular sankalp, how would it take place and pan out? We visualized this. We felt it and experienced this all in our imagination. All of this is our intellect's function, where we are connecting and linking a certain set of emotions with a particular thought, a particular sankalp. As those emotions are repeatedly triggered within us by that same thought, as our emotions get more and more connected and associated with that particular thought, that sankalp, and as we continue to experience an association and connection between the thought and an emotion repeatedly, this then develops a sanskar within us. This was in Baba's Avyakt Morli. I can't recall its exact date, But many years ago, Baba has said in an Avyakt Morli that, my child, how are sanskars formed? So this is how the sanskars are developed. Now we have to transform these sanskars. How would we do it? So for that, Baba has frequently told us a technique in various different ways. The first method that Baba has told us about is that, my child, first emerge your eternal sanskars. Because as it is commonly said that iron cuts iron, similarly only a sanskar can eliminate another sanskar. So what kind of new sanskars shall we emerge within us so that these present sanskars can be removed? So the eternal sanskars which we already have, the sanskars of the 7 innate qualities of the soul, so emerge those 7 qualities within you. How would you emerge them? In our memory, there exists a recording of all our soul's original sanskars. So by initiating a thought in your memory, try to feel each of them. The more we visualize these sanskars of our soul's 7 innate qualities, and as we feel each one of them in our imagination, as we connect our positive emotions with each of our original sanskars, and try to imagine how would we look like as an embodiment of our original sanskars in our newer form. When we begin to see this clearly in our imagination, it is only then that we will be able to emerge the eternal sanskars. As these eternal sanskars emerges from within us, and we are able to put them in action, karma, then all those sanskars of Maya, the sanskars which represent our weaknesses, that is, our weak sanskars, they do not get a chance or an opportunity to be executed, come into action, or play. They do not get a chance or an opportunity to be transformed into practical action or karma. And by repeatedly initiating and putting these original sanskars into action, karma, by repeatedly initiating and triggering our original sanskars that represent all 7 innate qualities of our soul, these sanskars will become more and more stronger and firm within us. And these new sanskars would eventually replace our old sanskars. For example, let's assume there is an empty vessel or a pot. Even though it's empty, it is obvious that it has air inside it. Now, we want to remove the air from inside that vessel or pot. What would we need to do? Simply fill it up with water. In other words, when a new thing replaces the old thing will leave. Exactly in the same way, our old sanskars, which represents our weaknesses and our weaker self. In order for me to stop those weak sanskars of mine to become into effect or appear in my actions or my behavior. For this, if I begin to think and tell myself the following: this weakness of mine should not appear today. This should not be triggered, should not be. I make a promise to myself in the morning, during Amrit Vela, that today I am not going to be subjugated or be taken over by this weak sanskar of mine. But what usually happens? Today morning, during Amrit Vela, I made a firm commitment, a sankalp, that today I would not allow myself to be controlled or subjugated by my sanskar of anger. But we usually notice that on the very day, what actually happens? We get more angry than we normally do. Why did this happen? Because we did not replace the weak sanskars within us. Because we did not replace the pre-existing weak sanskars, they continue to remain at their place as before within us. And so it will continue to be triggered and come into action. So there is a need to replace these weak sanskars. This is why simply by making a commitment during Amrit Vela, it would not prove to be much effective or practical. For example, I would not get angry today. Today, I would not be controlled or get influenced by the sanskar of anger. I won't be. I won't be. Won't be. See that? How strongly I revised and repeated with firm commitment, with determination. But still on that day, the sanskar of anger appeared again. Because during that morning itself, the firm commitment which I had made in my mind, which was, I will not get angry. So what happened there? It is said that the human mind does not recognize the word no. So what happened here? Our human mind is not able to understand or distinguish the word no. So, when we say that, today I will not let myself be controlled or be influenced by the sanskar of anger, our mind cannot recognize the word no. Psychology tells us that our mind doesn't understand the word no. So how would our mind process that firm commitment, our sankalp, then? It will process it as today I will be controlled and get influenced by the sanskar of anger. That is why we ended up feeling more angry than normal on that very day, because we took a sankalp. We made that firm commitment in the morning, but our mind did not process and identified the word no in our statement. While performing my yoga during Amrit Vela this morning, I said, today I will not get angry. Oh Baba, give me so much power that anger doesn't affect me today at all. Now, the power I received from Baba, where would it actually go? It will be directed to that sanskar of anger, isn't it? Because the mind didn't understand the word no, and therefore ignored it. So today, when I say, I will not be controlled and influenced by the sanskar of anger, so Baba, please give me more power. What actually is my firm commitment, my sankalp about? Anger. So the power which came from Baba, where did that go? Which commitment, which thought, which sankalp used all that power? That sanskar of anger ended up using it. That is why on that very day, we tend to feel more angry than usual. This is a negative thought, a negative sankalp. One should never think negative thoughts, negative sankalp, during Amrit Vela. So instead of that thought, what is another more positive thought we can think of than saying, do not get angry? So what would be a more positive thought, a positive sankalp? I, the soul, am an embodiment of peace. Today I need to become an embodiment of peace the entire day. I need to become a pillar of peace. I will be the lighthouse and mighthouse of peace. Do not make the commitment about not getting angry today, but rather visualize this. Today I will perform every action with peace. And how would I be? As an embodiment of peace. Bring in that thought, that sankalp, that you are an embodiment of peace, and connect the positive emotions of peace with that thought of being an embodiment of peace. Feel that peace, experience that peace, and then make a firm commitment that, Baba, please give me power, that I remain peaceful the entire day today. Did you notice there was a slight error? This is why at times we are not able to differentiate between positive thoughts and negative thoughts. We think we receive so much power from Baba during Amrit Vela, yet why doesn't this sanskar of mine disappears? But the question remains, who is actually receiving that power? A thought which is in the mind, it is receiving Baba's power. That's why that sanskar is not going away or being transformed. This is why when we perform yoga during Amrit Vela, we should make sure that we only emerge ourselves as embodiments and forms based only on positive thoughts. While emerging your own positive embodiment, your own positive form, in your imagination, stay in that form to ensure that particular form actually receives sakash from Baba. The more that embodiment receives the sakash, as a result, that will become your default form. It will gradually become easier to remain and be set in that form for the entire day, so that sanskar of weakness will stop coming into effect in action. So this is the first technique to transform your sanskar. So only with a new sanskar, an old sanskar can be transformed or removed. Only with iron, iron can be cut. This is the first technique. So, by following this very method, the more we work on emerging the 7 qualities of the soul within us, the more we let those vibrations to flow within us, an aura, that atmosphere, that arc, will begin to form around us. The more this arc around us begins to develop, that weak sanskar will gradually begin to grow weaker over a period of time. Because this new form, this new embodiment, is so powerful. This walking, talking new embodiment, inside that arc, the arc of our soul's 7 qualities formed around us. If it is powerful around us, then the weak sanskar will grow so weak that it would not be able to come into action ever again. Like when our body becomes weak, we struggle to gather strength to even raise our hand. We run out of strength and power. So exactly in the same manner, make those weak sanskars more weaker. And to make those sanskars more weak, you need to emerge your eternal sanskars. And if we are able to develop the aura which will be formed by our eternal sanskars during Amrit Vela itself, then our weak sanskars would not be able to gather any power ever again, nor would they ever be able to come into action or appear again, and they will dissolve over a period of time. So through this way, we will continue to merge those sanskars for 5,000 years. We will merge them. So this is the second technique to transform sanskars.